The rain hit the tin roof like bullets. Thunder rolled across the sky as dark clouds swallowed the moonlight. On the edge of a quiet farming colony, far from any city, a human named Jaren sat near his old wooden table, eating a cold dinner. Suddenly, there was a loud crash outside, metal against rock. Jaren froze. He lived alone. His nearest neighbor was 3 kilometers away. He stood up, grabbed his flashlight, and quietly stepped outside. The wind was sharp, and the rain soaked his clothes instantly. At first, he saw nothing. Then he spotted a strange glowing figure lying near the edge of his small field. He walked closer, heart pounding. What he saw made him stop dead in his tracks. It was a woman, not a human. Her skin was pale blue, her body tall and lean. She wore a black armored suit torn in several places. Blood dark purple dripped from her side. Her hands were bound in broken metal cuffs that still sparked weakly. Her eyes opened slowly. They glowed red for a moment, before fading to a soft silver. She whispered, "Please, don't call them." Jaren stared, his breath caught in his throat. He knew her face. He had seen it on screens, posters, and warning signs across the galaxy. She was the most wanted assassin in the known worlds. The reward for turning her in was enough to buy an entire planet. But right now, she didn't look like a killer. She looked like someone who had been hunted and left to die. He looked around. No ships, no lights. Just rain and darkness. "Can you walk?" he asked. She shook her head, barely conscious. Jaren sighed and lifted her into his arms. She was heavier than she looked, her armor cold and wet. He brought her inside, dripping water all over the floor. He laid her gently on his couch, then went to get towels and a med kit. He had no idea how to treat alien wounds, but he could stop the bleeding. As he cleaned the blood and patched the deep gash on her side, she didn't speak. Her breathing was rough. Her eyes opened once, watching him silently, but then closed again. After bandaging her, Jaren sat back in his chair, staring at her. What had he just done? If the authorities found out, he would be arrested. Maybe worse. He looked at the door. It would be so easy to call the patrol. One message, one reward, one clean life. But something inside him wouldn't let him do it. She wasn't just an assassin. She was hurt, broken, alone. And no one deserved to die in the cold rain. Hours passed. Storm outside grew worse. Lightning flashed and thunder shook the windows. Jaren couldn't sleep. He kept checking on her. At one point, her body started trembling. He placed another blanket over her. She groaned but didn't wake. Then around midnight, he heard it. Distant hums, drones, patrol ships. They were close. His heart raced. He ran to the window and peeked out. Blue lights were moving across the sky. They were scanning the area. They were looking for her. He moved quickly. He turned off all lights, covered the windows, hid any signs of a struggle. Then he went to her and whispered, "You have to stay quiet. They're coming." She opened her eyes weakly and gave a small nod. Jaren helped her off the couch and down into the storage cellar. It was cold and smelled of old fuel, but it was hidden and safe. He placed her in the corner behind crates and locked the cellar hatch just as the patrol knocked on the door. Boom. Boom! Boom! "This is Sector Patrol," a voice shouted. "Open the door." Jaren opened it slowly, pretending to be half asleep. "Evening," he mumbled. "What's going on?" A tall alien officer stepped inside, helmet glowing. Behind him, 2 smaller drones scanned the room with blue light. "We're searching for a fugitive," the officer said. "She's dangerous. Last seen in this sector." Jaren yawned. "Haven't seen anyone. Just me here. I'm a farmer." The drones hovered close to his face. He didn't flinch. After a few tense moments, the officer nodded. "If you see or hear anything, report it immediately." Jaren nodded slowly. "Of course." The patrol left. Jaren waited a few minutes, then went back down to the cellar. She was still there, quiet and curled up. Her breathing was shallow. "You didn't tell them," she whispered. "No," he replied. "Why?" Jaren looked at her for a long moment. "Because you were bleeding in the rain," he said. "And I'm not like them." The fire crackled softly in the dark. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving behind wet silence. Inside the small wooden house, Jaren watched the assassin sleep on his couch. She looked peaceful now, but she wasn't, because just an hour ago, she almost stopped breathing, because just a day ago, she killed 12 people on a warship with her. Bare hands, because her name was whispered across the stars, and feared more than death itself. And yet, right now, she was just a woman, broken, weak, quiet. Jaren stood at the window, gripping a mug of cold tea. He didn't drink it. His eyes kept going back to her face. That face was worth 20 million credits. But instead of turning her in, he had hidden her. Why? Even he didn't know. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, silver and sharp, like they'd never been asleep at all. She sat up fast. Her hand reached to her side, out of habit, but there was no weapon there, only a bandage. Jaren raised both hands. "Easy, you're safe here." She stared at him, no emotion. "No thanks, just cold calculation. Then she spoke. "Why didn't you sell me?" Her voice was quiet, but each word felt like a blade. Jaren shrugged. "Didn't feel right." "You were dying," she frowned. "You're either stupid or lying." "Maybe both," Jaren said with a half smile. She looked around the room slowly, checking for threats. Then she relaxed just a little. Her name wasn't known to the public, just her face. Her code name was Velra 17, but no one had ever seen her off-duty and lived to tell. He didn't know her name. Not yet. She looked back at him. "You live here alone?" "Yes, no weapons, no need." She raised an eyebrow. "Then you're an idiot." Jaren chuckled. "You wouldn't be the first to say that." She touched her ribs and winced. "You stitched me?" "Yes, with that junk med kit. It was all I had." Silence. Then, unexpectedly, she said, "Thank you." It was barely above a whisper. It sounded strange coming from someone like her. Jaren sat down across from her. "What happened to you out there?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stared into the fire, her eyes lost in flames. Flashback 2 days earlier screams echoed. In a steel corridor, Vera's black boots stepped through blood. She had finished the job. The Admiral was dead. So were his guards. But something felt wrong. Her instincts screamed danger. Too late. The explosion came from behind her, one of her own escape pods. Her team had betrayed her. Left her in the vacuum. Left her to die. Back in the present. She looked away from the fire. "I was a weapon," she said quietly. "Built to obey. Built to kill. And now? I'm broken. They don't need me anymore." She stood up weakly and walked to the window. Her eyes scanned the empty horizon. "I don't trust you," she said. "But I'm too tired to run." "That's fine," Jaren replied. "I'm not asking for trust." She turned around, studied him again. "You're strange for a human. I get that a lot." She looked at the table, plain food, simple tools, a quiet life. Her life had never been quiet, never simple, and she didn't understand why this man, in this small house, had given her a second chance. Maybe he was stupid. Maybe he was kind. Maybe both. She sat down again, her voice low. "If they find me here, they'll kill us both." Jaren nodded. "Then let's hope they don't." She woke up with a gun pointed at her face. But it wasn't Jaren holding it. It was a child's toy gun, plastic, bright green, and shaking in the hands of a small local boy. The assassin didn't move. Her silver eyes locked onto the boy's. He froze. Then he screamed and ran out of the house. She sat up fast. Pain shot through her ribs. Her body was still healing. She reached for a weapon that wasn't there. Old instincts, old fears. Jaren rushed in seconds later, panting. "I'm so sorry, that's Miko. He sneaks around here sometimes, looking for candy." She blinked. "He saw me." "Yes," Jaren said, nodding. "And now others will come." Half an hour later, dust clouds appeared on the edge of the horizon. Not clouds. Engines. 5 black bikes, hovering just above the dry ground, raced toward Jaren's home. Each bike carried a bounty hunter. The woman didn't speak. She simply stood, pulled on her half-burned armor, and walked to the door. Jaren blocked her path. "You're still healing," he said. "They'll burn your house," she replied. "They don't knock. They kill first, ask later." "I know," Jaren said. He held up a dusty old box and opened it. Inside was something unexpected. A pulse rifle. She raised an eyebrow. "You said you had no weapons." "I lied." She almost smiled. Outside, the bounty hunters arrived with guns out. Their leader, a tall alien with a red cyber eye, stepped forward. This place was reported as harboring a fugitive. He shouted, "Step outside, human." Jaren walked out alone, hands up. "No one here but me," he said. The leader didn't believe him. His cyber eye blinked fast, scanning Jaren's face for signs of a lie. Inside the house, the assassin crouched. Behind the window, watching. She could feel it. They knew, and worse. She recognized one of them, a face from her past, not a hunter, a traitor, one of the team, who left her to die. Her blood boiled. "Back outside." The leader stepped forward. "We'll search the house," he growled. "Stand down." Jaren didn't move, but his finger touched a small trigger device in his pocket, one wired to smoke grenades hidden in the barn. He gave them one last chance. "She's not here," he said. Wrong answer. The hunter raised his weapon. Boom. Smoke exploded behind them. In the chaos, the assassin stepped out. She didn't wait. She moved like a shadow. 2 down in seconds. The third screamed before her. Knife silenced him. The traitor tried to run, but froze when she whispered his name. "You left me." He turned, terrified. "No, wait." Her fist broke his jaw. The battle was over in under a minute. Jaren stood beside her, coughing from the smoke. She was covered in blood, not hers. He stared at her. "You didn't kill the last one." She nodded. "That one's for later." She walked back into the house without another word. Jaren stood alone in the silence. He looked at the bodies on his land. He knew now. Helping her wasn't a mistake. It was war. Asterisk, she didn't understand why. Her hands were shaking. She had killed many times. With knives, with fire, with her bare hands, but this time was different. Her hands weren't trembling from pain or rage. They were trembling from something else, fear she had never felt before. Not fear of death. Fear of being cared for. She stood in the small bathroom, staring at herself in the cracked mirror. Blood dried across her cheek. Her armor was half broken. Her left arm had deep bruises. But what disturbed her most was not the injuries. It was her face. It looked lost. Outside the door, Jaren knocked gently. "You all right in there?" She didn't answer. Jaren pushed the door open just a little and slid a folded shirt and a warm towel inside. "Figured you might want to get clean," he said softly. "There's hot water." She looked at the towel. Warm, fresh, clean. She hadn't felt that in years, not since she was taken from her home, trained, used, thrown away. No one had ever offered her comfort without a price. She touched the soft towel like it was something sacred. Later that night, she sat by the fire, wearing his shirt, arms wrapped around herself. Jaren handed her a hot bowl of soup. She took it slowly. Steam rose. The smell made her stomach twist. She hadn't eaten real food in days. She took a bite, then another. Then stopped. "What's wrong?" Jaren asked. She looked at him and whispered, "It tastes like nothing." He blinked. "You don't like it?" "No," she said. I mean, I don't know what it feels like to eat and not be afraid someone poisoned it. That silence hit Jaren harder than a gunshot. He sat beside her slowly. Not too close, but not too far. You've lived a long time without trust, he said. She looked at the fire. Trust gets you killed. Sometimes, Jaren replied, but sometimes it saves you. Suddenly, a knock. Soft. Both of them froze. It wasn't a patrol. It was a child's knock. Jaren opened the door. Miko, the local boy from earlier, stood there holding a bag. My mama said to give this to the tall lady, the boy said. She said thank you for saving the town from the bad men. He handed her a small fruit pie, wrapped in cloth. The assassin stared at it like it was a bomb. Miko smiled. You're scary, but kinda cool. Then he ran off into the dark. She looked down at the pie in her hands. She didn't move. Didn't eat it, she just stared. Jaren saw her eyes well up, but she blinked the tears away fast. First time someone gave me something without fear, she said. Jaren leaned back. Get used to it. You're not just a killer anymore. She looked at him. He wasn't afraid of her. He never was. And that terrified her more than any army. The fruit pie was gone, not eaten. Just missing. She had placed it on the windowsill the night before, but now it had vanished. No crumbs. No wrapper. And the window was unlocked. The assassin stood still in the early morning light, staring at the empty spot like it was a trap. Her instinct screamed. Someone had been here. Jaren was outside, feeding the animals. He waved when he saw her. Morning, he said. She didn't wave back. Instead, she scanned the sky. 3 tiny black dots moved slowly above the clouds. Too small for local birds. Too fast for normal patrols. They were scanning, watching. She turned to Jaren. You need to leave, now. He looked confused. Why? She walked up to him. Her voice was cold, controlled. They found us, but this time, they're not sending bounty hunters. Then who are they sending? She looked him dead in the eyes. People who used to be my friends. That night, she couldn't sleep, not because she was afraid, but because for the first time, she didn't want to run. She didn't want to leave this place. Didn't want to disappear into the shadows again. She was tired of being hunted, tired of being alone. Jaren walked in quietly and handed her something, a tiny device no larger than a coin. What's this? She asked. A signal blocker, he said. I made it years ago, to keep scanners away. Never thought I'd actually use it. She smiled for the first time, not a killer's smile, not a mask. Real one, soft, quiet, human, but peace never lasts. The next day, a stranger arrived in the village. He looked harmless, wore local clothes, bought food, even smiled, but she knew. Way he walked, the way he watched, the way his hand never left his belt. He wasn't from around here. He was a shadow like she used to be. That night, she followed him quietly into the forest. He stopped near a tree, activated a hidden communicator, and spoke. Target located. The human is protecting her. Permission to eliminate both? She stepped out of the shadows. No permission granted. He spun around too late. Her blade was already at his throat. Back at the house, Jaren waited. She returned with blood on her hands and a message in her eyes. They're already here, she said. Inside the village, wearing friendly faces. Jaren clenched his fists. So what do we do now? She looked at him, calm, deadly, certain. We make them wish they never came. Asterisk, the first bullet wasn't meant for her. It was meant for Jaren. And that's what made her snap. It happened just after sunrise. Jaren was chopping firewood. Same as every morning. She was sitting on the roof, half hidden, watching the tree line. Her eyes were calm, cold, focused. Then, a glint, a sniper scope. 1 second later, the crack of a shot broke the morning stillness. She jumped. The bullet missed Jaren by an inch. splintering the log behind him. She was already flying through the air before he even hit the ground. By the time he looked up, she was gone. In the woods, the assassin moved like lightning between trees, silent and fast. 3 enemies, trained, armed, but not enough. The first sniper didn't even scream. The second pulled a knife. She broke his arm. The third ran. Mistake. She caught him by the neck and pinned him to a tree. Who sent you? She growled. He coughed, panicked. Command wants the human alive, you dead. She leaned in close. Then they've already failed. Back at the house, Jaren stood in shock. Smoke rose in the distance. Screams echoed from the forest. Then silence. She returned minutes later, blood on her hands, eyes glowing softly. He stared at her. You risked your life, he said. For me. She didn't answer. Instead, she walked up and pressed something into his hand, a small silver pin. He looked at it. It was hers, a mark of her old life, her rank. Why give me this? Because, she said, you're the first person I've ever protected. Because I wanted to. That night, the house was dark and quiet, but neither of them slept. She sat by the fire, cleaning her wounds. Jaren handed her warm water, then sat beside her. Are they done coming? She shook her head. They'll send more. Stronger ones. Smarter ones. Then we fight, he said. She looked at him, surprised. You'd stay and fight? You could still leave. Jaren smiled. You saved me. I'm not going anywhere. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a weapon. She felt like someone worth standing beside. She didn't know her real name. No one ever gave her one. She was trained to be a shadow, a number, a weapon. Not a person, but now. She stood barefoot in the soft morning grass, holding a cup of warm tea and listening to birds she had never bothered to notice before. She was alive. And for the first time, free. Jaren walked out of the house, rubbing his eyes. You're up early, he said. I couldn't sleep. Nightmares? She nodded. Then added, but not the same kind as before. He sat down beside her on the wooden steps. They sat in silence for a moment. Peaceful, simple. She glanced at him. You never asked what I was before, she said quietly. I didn't have to, Jaren replied. I saw who you are now. The past few days had been hard. More hunters came. More traitors. More fire. She and Jaren fought side by side. And they won. But not because they were stronger. They won because they had something none of the others had. Trust. That evening, she stood by the small river near the edge of the village. Children played nearby, laughing. My CCO, the brave little boy who once pointed a toy gun at her, ran up and handed her a flower. Miss, he said, my mama says you're a hero. She stared at the tiny flower in her hand, a weapon. Now being called a hero. How strange life had become. That night, Jaren set 2 plates of food on the table. He looked at her and smiled. I've been thinking, he said. If you're going to stay here, you can't go by Velra 17 anymore. She raised an eyebrow. So what should I be called? He thought for a moment. Then said, how about Lyra? She repeated it slowly. Lyra. She didn't know why, but the name felt right. Soft, warm, real. A name you give someone you want to protect. She nodded. I like it. 1 month later, the bounty posters vanished. The rewards were canceled. The galaxy believed the assassin, known as Velra 17, was dead. And in a way, she was, because now there was only Lyra, a woman who gardened in the mornings, hunted with her bare hands, and sometimes scared the villagers with her cold eyes, but laughed with their children and sat quietly at night beside the man who saw her not as a monster, but as a human.